Rick Kelly.
Yeah, okay, I'm Rick Kelly. This is Carmine Street Guitars, and we build Kelly guitars here and Cindy guitars here. And the wood we use comes from these historic old buildings down in this end of New York City. They're usually from the early 1800s, the buildings, and so that they're framed out in all old growth trees. Indians lived here first, and when the trees were being harvested in the 1700s, 1800s, it was mostly just Indians living here, so there was nothing but trees here. And you know, small communities, campfire smoke coming up. If you look from an aerial view, that's what it would have looked like. It was all trees. And pretty much the whole city is framed out in old growth white pine. And when they remodel a building, they'll usually discard the old wood and we go get it. And we use it because it sounds so good. The wood has been indoors curing for almost 200 years. And it's also because it's soundboard wood. It's the same wood you would find inside of a piano or on top of every acoustic guitar you've ever seen. Every violin, cello, and bass all have spruce and pine tops.
Interesting. And
cedar occasionally. But yeah, it's a traditional wood that goes back thousands of years. Even the Egyptians made musical instruments with spruce, pine, soundboard wood tops. So it's a very traditional used wood, and it's the most valued wood, and it's the largest quality and quantity of wood that New York City is built with. And it's all from giant trees that were, you know, shipmass material, probably what caused the Revolutionary War, because King George had set a lot of rules in place for the early colonists that they couldn't cut these trees because he needed replacement shipmasts for those giant galleons in the British Navy and the French Navy and the German Navy and the Portuguese Navy. They just deforested all of Europe, you know, so
wow.
They looked to America, who had never been deforested and had perfect specimen shipmast trees, and they sent their millwrights over to carve them into giant octagons. But yeah, fortunately we are able to get this wood and make guitars from it, and that's the story of what we do here. We do a lot of Telecasters, and I do something called a drop horn, and this is a double drop horn. It's got two drop horns.
Okay.
It's the first of its kind. This one here is like a Les G, also made of all pine. Two different, we leave the patina sometime of the pine because it has 200 years of oxidation on the surface that gives it a really beautiful coloring.
Nice.
You know, some of those big timbers behind you, all that's the wood we get and the way it comes in sometimes. They get pretty big, the timbers.
Nice.
And then the nails you see in this wood are actually old iron cut nails from that era. And they had a lot of iron, so they make good pickups. And we've got a couple examples over here of our nail head pickups. They're the actual nails from the 1800s that we pull out of the wood.
Wow.
And then the bobbins are actually wood from the Chelsea Hotel.
Wow.
So it has a little historical, but that's a set neck old pine.
What's you were saying earlier, what's the difference between, I notice you have like the thicker
necks and the skinnier necks?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big necks are a lot more traditional, older necks from classical guitars that are the oldest type of guitars that go back 200 years, always had 2-inch wide or wider necks and a full inch thick. And we kind of use necks that became more popular in the 1930s and 40s, like the early J45, Banner J45 from the war era. They had big giant maple necks, and I always loved those guitars.
Nice.
They became kind of the most collectible. People who like big necks love big necks, and people who don't know about them think that skinny necks are faster, but I would tend to argue that point. And the sound difference is really amazing. But anyway, we like to make high neck guitars. But you don't even need a truss rod. This wood is...
That's what I noticed, yeah.
This wood is so old and so straight. Just think about how the shipmasts, they had 2,000 pounds of canvas, and they had to be able to resist that stress of flexing with that weight of canvas and the sails and the wind. But so it makes a perfect guitar neck. It's the same thing is sort of happening.
How
it's
did you?
Resisting flex.
Nice. How did you get the inspiration to get into making guitars?
Well, I've been making guitars since 1968. So
Wow.
I'm 75 years old. I don't even remember what I did in 1968. Other than to do that, you know. I remember starting out with it. And I just never stopped doing it. I
Nice,
just kept doing it
nice,
ever since.
nice. Wow.